Hi all, welcome to this video. So today we'll be dealing with how to start with UI automation. And with UI automation we have prerequisites to do. So in order to be able to write basically a UI automation script. So let it be any tool in the market, let's say Selenium, Cypress, Playwright, or any UI automation tool with any specific language. We need to have few prerequisites for that to even start with that. Okay, so for that we'll be seeing locators and DOM HTML elements for that. And for reference, I'll be using this Selenium notes that I have in my bucket. So that will help us going through with a predefined path so that we cover each and every topic in a synchronized fashion. So let's get started on to this. And for that, I'll be first using what for that I'll be referring to the HTML. What is an HTML basically? So if we talk about HTML, so let me show you with a quick website example. So let's see, this is basically a website that is basically a testing website, we can say. So for here if you see, we have this whole page. So this whole page is made out of HTML, and we have few elements around this that act as a HTML element. So if we want to see what those elements are and what HTML is, how the HTML basically looks like, so either you can do Control Shift I onto this. So this will open a dev tool console, or you can basically directly inspect onto this. So this is how the HTML looks like. We have the HTML with the body with app root and form and div element, and then we have again a form which has a number of divs and all. So this is how HTML look like. I hope everyone is quite understandable what HTML means up till now. And this is nothing major. This is how HTML looks like in the behind the scenes. So now if we come on to our gist, so as we know how we deal what HTML looks like, so briefing onto that. So first of all, I would like to go with detailing about an HTML attribute. Let's say, okay, so let's say there is a this is the basically an input. Let me inspect onto this. Let's say this is a form field. Okay, so we have input class, min length, name, and required type. Okay, so what does this define here basically? So if we see, input is basically a tag that has been used here. Okay, that defines that this is an input field, and class is an attribute, and form, control, ng, pristine, ng, invalid, and an ng test is basically the attribute value for this. Okay, so and min length, same as min length is an additional attribute, and name is also an attribute, and value is name as well. Required type is text. Okay, so these are basically the main HTML elements. Okay, let's see here with this notes also, and there is an example. So we have a as a tag, href is an attribute, and attribute value. Okay, so let's say in this case we have input class and class. What is this? Class is equal to form control. This is nothing, just addressing that class has a value of form control, and with a set of these many classes we have. Okay, that is form control, pristine, ng invalid, and ng test. So this is nothing, just similar that you are a person and you have your name as Rishabh. So person is equal to Rishabh. So that is defining that attribute is a person, and is its attribute value is Rishabh, or the type of attribute value is he's a male or female or something around that. Okay, so and let's come on to this. What is min length? Min length is in this input has an attribute input, sorry, has an attribute class with an, it also has an additional it also has few basic additional attributes as well, that are min length, name, required types. So these can be set as that he has more key features. We can say that, let's say the name is Rishabh and he looks like this, and his name is, his last name is this, and his structure is this, and something he wears this. So we can say we can relate with the normal uh, examples as well, in the sense real time example we can say. So this is a input with a class as this, with a min length as 2, and name as an we gave it property as a name, and required type is text. Okay, so this is what defines us about HTML, and how do we see any uh, HTML element or web element basically. So let's now quickly move on to locators in there here. So locators, if we see, they are used to locate the web element by using tags and attribute and text. Okay, so tags, attribute, and text, I've already shown you here that by using the tags, that is input is a tag, attribute is, let's say, class, and text, let's say this div has a class, and text as name is required. Okay, so attribute, tag, attribute, and text, this comprises of writing a locator. Or locator, basically what is a locator? Locator is in used to identify an element in the web page. Okay, so identify an element in the web page, in the sense we can say that, let's say you you live at, let's say you live at a location, basically, correct? And someone asks you what is your address, so you'll give that I live at Noida, where basically I live at sector 7, let's say 70, or whatsoever the case. So you define your sector as well, you define your city as well. So what that is a locator for the third person, or the person who is trying to interact with you. And in reference to you, you are sending your address to him, so that he can properly locate to you, uh, to the to the exact location where you belong to. Okay, or more precisely say, let's say you share your location with the WhatsApp, so you are locating that some person to the exact point that you are considering that you are currently in. Okay, so that is also a locator for him. You are a locator with reference to that location, correct? He can locate you with using with that. So that is how here it's the same, that we use locators to define, basically to find the UI web elements into the web page. So all the locators are static in nature, etc., and concrete methods. So static, what does mean? I think everyone knows static in Java means that we are unable to create an object of that, and we can simply call that using class name. And concrete, what does mean? Concrete means that they have proper definition inside the method, has some definition inside. That is a concrete method. So that is what it's trying to say, that locators are static in nature with concrete implementations, which are present inside an abstract class, which is called by. By is an abstract class that contains these locators as a methods. Okay, so all the since they are inside a class, so their return type will obviously be by, and they take string as an argument. I think everyone knows what string and an argument means, that within double quotes we write anything around the locator. Okay, so that is what our what locator is. Okay, so now we'll quickly move on to the next part, that is how many locators are there, and how do we identify those locators into the, let's say, in the web page. So locators are typically of 8 types. So first is ID, second is class name, third is fourth yeah, then tag name, then link text, then partial link text, and then CSS selector, and then XPath. So this hierarchy here written is in precedence order. Okay, so ID comes first. Will If you see ID, you'll give preference to ID. If you see name, you'll give preference to name. If you see class name, you'll give preference to class name. Okay, if you give if you don't see these three, if you see tag names, and then the preference goes on again. It's obviously from top to bottom, that highly preferred is this, then this, then this, then this, then this. Okay, so mostly we get IDs, names, and class name, and CSS selector, and XPath. So that is what we generally do. So let's quickly jump on to basically ID. So ID is nothing but it's a unique ID is something unique like we had in our in currently also since if you are working, if you're a student, you will always have your what we say roll number or employee ID. So that is unique something, correct? So ID is the similar thing that it is unique into the HTML element. Okay, let's say for this uh, if we inspect around this, so can we can see that here's an ID. So this is unique. If I try to search this up, let's say control F again, type in this and just put a hash here. So hash defines about ID, okay, and dot defines about a class name in the HTML. So hash defines here that we can see that we have only one element ID that has name as example input password one. Okay, so how do I claim that this is the unique element here? So if we see here, so what is written it one of one is showing that means only one of one. If considering all the elements, there's only one single element that has the ID of example input password one. Okay, so it's this much here about ID only. So it's simply you'll be seeing the in the tag, you'll be seeing in the element you'll be seeing a name as a unique identifier as a attribute as ID, and for which you can refer to as locating the web element. We'll cover in the future videos about in the next video, basically in the coming video, about how to write those XPaths and CSS selector and how to write these things. So we'll cover in those things in next session. So now we can say that ID is something unique that we can identify using that we can use to identify a web element. Okay, so if we see a basic script that I had written those days, that time that we are in here, we are what we are doing is we are initiating the browser and we are getting the file name. This is basically a local host, so we gave a file name, so we are using that by driver dot find element by dot. Okay, so by dot id was a user, so that is why I had written find dot element find this element. Okay, so this is about ID. So then comes picture about name. What is name? Name is nothing but again a attribute that we see in the HTML document. Let's say I think this one has your name. If I inspect this up, so what will I see here? Yeah, this is a name. Okay, so it's simple as much that we have if there is a attribute as name in the web element, so we'll go with the name. So that is nothing. There's nothing much fascinating about that. Whenever there is a name attribute, we can use the locator as name, and we can write as a driver dot find element. And we don't worry about what this driver dot find element means. We'll cover in the next part. And by dot name, that is here it's pwd, and we can write the same as where what we are seeing here, that the name is name, so we can write simply as driver dot find element by dot name, and then further operations whatever you need to do, you can do it. So okay, so this is pretty much straightforward, I think. So there's nothing we will have to consider around. So next apart, we can go up with class name. So our class name is something that whenever there is a class attribute in an HTML element, although in 99% of the HTML elements we use class in now in these days, since we are building the applications with React and all, and moreover we write those using class names as well. So in majority of the applications you will find ID, class name, or these are the two major things that we generally find. So we can write those using the class name as well. But these days we have what we say, the applications are quite dynamic, or the class names are quite dynamic in nature, so they usually change in every deployment. Let's say there's nothing like static class name. Like we can see here what we are referring, that we have a class name as form control ng this and ng and so on. So but currently we in if you check onto the live projects or whatever the applications we are we come across, we generally don't see any static, generally in the sense 70% of the times, we, if the application is built on top of React or something, so we won't see, we able to, we will have dynamic IDs as well. So there we'll be using dynamic XPath or dynamic CSS selector as well, so that we'll discuss further. So that is what here class is about. Okay, so we can see that this has this HTML element has a class, has an attribute which has additional attribute as sorry, attribute value as form control, ng pristine, ng invalid, and ng touched. Okay, so this is what a class means. So here we can see there are this is not a single class, these are four classes. One class is form control, one class is ng pristine, second is ng invalid, and then the next is ng touched. Okay, so we have four classes here that are there, that combines to this single web element, that can define this single web element uses four classes. So that is how we see with classes. And let me show, let's say this div has a class of form group. Okay, so form group is a class that collectively makes this div. We have so many around this, that so many divs use a single class, that is form group. So that's it about class name. Next we have tag name. Tag name is whenever there is a web element with unique HTML tag in the entire page, we use tag name. So tag name is nothing, just we are giving we are giving the, just specifying the tag name. This can be used in a scenario when when let's say there's a scenario when you want to extract all the links out of the page, of a certain page or of a certain URL. So there you will not be writing XPath for each and every URL, correct? Let's say there are 100 links onto the page, and you want to grab 100 of those values of around the link, and you want to play around with something. Let's say you want to do something around that, so you'll not be writing 100 XPath for those, correct? So we can for those for that instance we can use here as tag name. So we can say that driver dot find element by dot tag name, and tag name is anchor, that is a tag. So we can get those whatever let's say, then we will get the list of that element. Okay, in such cases by dot tag name, let's say we'll use driver dot find elements, because we'll be having a set of a list of links in our hand. Okay, so that can be used as there as well. So that is what about tag name, that's quite simple. And next we can move on, next we'll move on to link text. What is link text? Link text is nothing, just I'll show you that we can use this locator to, let's say there's a link, I think there's in this website, if I see, there's a link, what is the name, so this is our anchor link, and this is the basically the link, and we have home as the text. So we can use driver dot find element by dot link text as home here, like see in this what we have used driver dot find element by dot link text, edit this page. There might be a page in the application that I was using with the edit this page as the text of that button, or whatever we say. So here we have home. So link text is something we can go around and we can do this, there's nothing fascinating about that. And now we'll be moving on to partial link text. Okay, so what is partial link text? So nothing, just if you want to let's say there's a link that says that welcome to onboard. Okay, so if that is the text of that, let's say that let's say we had this a class with href whatever, let's say the same, and we had home, we had welcome to onboard something. So if we are writing a link text, so we'll be doing a tag with the text name as welcome to onboard, and welcome to onboard will using the text using the text what is sorry using link text, we'll specify the whole name of that text of that link. And if we are going with partial link text, so we can write that instead of writing welcome to onboard, we can say welcome, just we can say onboard if that link contains text as onboard, or if that link contains text as welcome. So we can that will work, because it will, if it's a single unique, then it will always work. If it's if there are multiple elements around that, then we'll obviously get a error around that. Okay, So that is what about partial link text. Then comes CSS selectors. CSS selectors are basically used to, used to what we say CSS selectors are basically these are also locators that are used to identify the web elements. So we have syntax around this CSS selector. Okay, so syntax is something like we can see here. We write the HTML tag, and then we write the HTML tag, then we write the attribute and the attribute value. So simply, I'll today in this session we'll just see how to write that. We'll not go in deep in how to play around with each and everything around CSS selector, but we'll see today how to write this. Okay, so let's say I want to write a CSS selector for what we have. Let's say I want to write a CSS selector for this a tag. Okay. Oh, sorry. Okay, so what we studied about the currently that we let me show you that just write the tag name and within the square brackets attribute and the attribute value. So we are pretty much clear now about what is the tag name, what is the attribute, and what is the attribute value. So if you judge this up, so what is the tag name here? So if we judge this up, what is the tag name? The tag name is, if we go on with this, let's say anchor tag, the tag name is A. And what is the additional attribute? Additional attribute is class with a value of navbar brand. Correct. So how to write that? Simple as that. At tag name square bracket, what is the what is the attribute? Attribute was class, and and is equal to what is the attribute value within the string quotes. What is the attribute value? Nav bar dash brand, I think so. Yeah, brand. So this is how we write this CSS selector for this. Correct. So this is a tag name, attribute, and what is the attribute value around this. Got it? So this is how we write a CSS selector. Such simple as that. Just tag name, attribute, and attribute value. Let's do for something else as well. Let's say I want to write a CSS selector for this input as well. Okay, so let's try with this. Let me quickly inspect this up. We have, okay, we have what we need. So this is the input with a class, with a min length, with a name, and with a required text. I'll show you. Tag name, sorry, tag name, attribute name is equal to, see, I have worked on this website so much that I have learned this what is the tag name, but no issues, you can practice around this. So but we can see there are two here. Okay, so for now we can just consider is that I'll tell you how to uh, debug this all as well, that how we can uniquely identify this specific field. Okay, for now I'll show you how to write. We can also write with using, let's say, the class name as well, that it contains class as what is that, let me copy up this. So this can also work as well. Okay, so this is how we write CSS selector for this. Up till now I don't think so there is any issue. Now we'll be moving on to the XPath section just to see how to write an XPath. Okay, so if we go on to the XPath, so XPath is also used to locate that web element in the same fashion as CSS selector does. So I'll be covering only just a bit part of XPath, so that we'll be covering CSS selector and XPath in detail in the coming session. So just let me show you here. So I had written the CSS selector for this input field, that was input name is equal to name, correct? So if I do a control Z over here. Okay, so now if I need to write an XPath, so let's first see the syntax around this. What is the syntax around this? So if we go here and see what is the syntax, so in order to write an XPath, so you'll have to use double slash attribute, double slash tag name, at the rate attribute and attribute value. Okay, so nothing, just simple as that. Double slash tag name and then just a at that symbol, attribute and attribute value. Let me show you for this as well. You might say that we have might be confused. Just simple. If I want to write for this, that we have the double slash at tag name and then at the rate attribute and the attribute. The only difference between these two is that in CSS selector we don't use at the rate, and in we don't use a double slash. There's a reason behind that. I'll tell you in the next session. So this is how we write CSS selector and XPaths. Okay, so I hope this is clear. And XPath also has two types, that is relative XPath and absolute XPath. So in absolute XPath, we basically traverse from root parent to root to child. And let's say this is an HTML structure tree, that HTML head body, then these all other tags. So let's say if I want to go on to this H1, so I'll have to consider that I'll be going from the root top of it. Absolute means that you are giving your absolute means absolute. What does absolute means? Absolute basically means that you will be heading from the root directory of that. Let's say we all work, we know that how to give let's say there's a relative path for every directory, there's an absolute path for every directory. So absolute means from the root directory we'll be traversing, and then we'll be traversing up till the child directory where we want to go inside. And relative means we'll be finding a solution around to just trigger around the exact child directory where we want to go. So that is how absolute and root and relative looks like. Okay, so if we consider here, so HTML is the root document, then we have head, then then inside HTML we have obviously body, and then let's say I'll inspect up this one, I think so. Huh. So what is the hierarchy here? I don't know if uh, somebody knows or not, but your web dev sorry, your dev tool also gives you the absolute XPath here as well. If you see, it's showing here that it's for this element, for the specific element that we are specifying, the top root node is HTML, then we have the body, then we have the app root, then we have app navbar, then we have div container, then we have this navbar with the class name as well. Okay, so this is the absolute path that is showing here, and we can write that as well. Let me quickly show you. This is what HTML slash single slash means that we are writing, that we are referring to the immediate child. Double slash means that we are referring to anything inside with the child, or the further area around the tree, or let's say there's a tree with branches. So we if a single slash is given, we are just referring to the next node or of the tree. And if we say about double slash, we are referring to next node and any beyond that next node as well. So that is what this directory or hierarchy looks like. So let's go and write onto this. Then we have, if we see here that we are up till here, the body, up till body, and then we have slash app dash root slash app dash navbar, and then a slash, we have, where did we want to go, div, and then the div inside we have a nav. So this is what a what we say absolute XPath looks like. So we see, we can also validate that we have written the same as well here. So this is nothing but this only. This is similar to this what we your dev tool shows to you. Okay, so this is how a absolute XPath looks like. And absolute XPath means that you will be heading from the root directory and you will be going towards whatever the path you want. But the main gist is that you will have to start with the root directory only. That is the major point in absolute XPath. If we see in what do you say, kahan gaya? Should not XPath, acha. The XPath which locates the web element from root node to required child node. That is what it also says. Okay. So I hope we are clear with this. We are over with the overview of the locators, and in the next session we'll be discussing about in detail about how to write those locators as well. Okay. So thanks for seeing the session, and let's end up this session. Thank you all.